Prabhasa Kanaka Prabhasa Kamakshi Thirukalyanam Chitte. Namaskaram everyone. Before we move on to today's Thirukalyana celebrations, we thought it is important to provide some context to today's celebrations. So I'm going to tell 3 stories today that will help us understand the significance of this ancient tradition that we're going to do today, and also about Mahabhattarika Sri Kamakshi Devi. For this, you will have to be willing to travel with me back and forth a little bit through the Kala Chakra. Okay? For our first story, we find ourselves in Guloka in front of a huge cave, a Mahavilam. So this particular Mahavilam, actually, can you all hear me without?
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable. Okay. So, okay. This Mahavilam is known for its prakasham in all the 3 worlds. It's a tapasthanam where one can come to gain the highest wisdom and know one's Chitsvarupa. It is also called as Sarva Siddhidam, which means it can grant us any siddhi and anything that we wish for. And it's also a Pratyaksha Moksha Param, which means that it can grant moksha. So, however, it also has 2 other names. It is called Navadwarasya Margam, which means that it is a way or a marga, a portal to worlds and places unknown. And it's also called as Sukshma Bilam, which means that it is so subtle, mysterious, secretive, and nobody really, we don't really know too much about it. Okay? So, standing in front of this huge Mahavila in Kanchipuram is Brahma. He has heard about this and he has come to Guloka in order to do tapas in front of this Mahavila. He has heard about it and he wants to do tapas in order to gain the siddhi, to grant longevity and powers to a few asuras that come in his lineage. So because he wants to do tapas, he doesn't want any obstacles or any hindrances to his tapas. So he makes 2 people, 2 asuras, Madhu and Kaitaba, stand guard in front of the Mahavilam and he starts his tapas. Now he has heard about this Parashakti who lives in this Mahavilam, but nobody knows too much. Still mysterious even for Brahma. So what happens is Parashakti, who is also called as Lalita, decides to play around with him a little bit. So what does she do? She transforms herself into form of a Vishnu Murti, which is Chakra Yudham, and she stands behind these 2 guards and severs their heads. Listening to this sound, Brahma turns around and what does he see? He sees the severed heads of his 2 guards and he's obviously quite shocked and angry. So he says, "Who dare kills my guards?" Right? And what does he see? And then he starts to look around. In the southern direction of the Mahavilam, he sees a huge Vishnu Murti. Who is in the form of the Vishnu Murti? Parashakti is in the form of a Vishnu Murti with the Chakra Yudham, and he's like, he's now decided. இவர்தான் பொண்ணு இருக்கணும். So பிரம்மாஸ்திரத்தெல்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு ரெடியா அட்டாக் பண்ண போயாச்சு. So then the Vishnu Murti looks at him and says, "Brahma, will I ever kill your guards? No, this was not me. You look behind you. Just now a Rudra Murti went that side. He was the one who killed them." And what does he do? He points to the direction behind Brahma, and Brahma says, "Okay, maybe." அப்படின்னு அவர் திரும்பி பார்க்கிற டைம்குள்ள this Parashakti, who is Vishnu Murti, transforms into a Rudra Murti. So as he turns around and he looks in the northwestern direction of the Vilam, he sees a huge Aghora Rudra standing with all his weapons. Now Brahma said, அவருக்கு கொஞ்சம் என்ன நடக்குது, கொஞ்சம் ஸ்தம்பிச்சு போயிருக்காரு. And then this Parashakti, now who is in the form of a Aghora Rudra, says very innocently, he says, "Brahma, why do you appear so angry? Hey, கண்ணெல்லாம் சிவந்து போயிருக்கு, என்ன ஆச்சு?" So Brahma is now like, இங்க ஏதோ நடக்கிறது, அவருக்கு புரிஞ்சிருக்கு, something is afoot here. So before he understands and perceives this thought that something is happening, this Aghora Rudra becomes a huge Tejas in the sky and he disappears. And by the time he turns around, he sees that Vishnumurti has also disappeared, which is when he understands that this, in the Sukshma Bilatla irukra, this energy is capable of taking the form of both Vishnu and Rudra. And in reality, there are so many references of this in the Lalita Sahasranama also. Words like Narayani, Govinda Rupani, Rudra Rupa, Sadashiva helps us understand that she is indeed can take the form of all of this, and she is Paratpara. Okay? But where is this bilam, you may ask? இன்னைக்கு எங்க இருக்கு இந்த மகாபிலம்? நம்மளுக்கெல்லாம் போகணும்னு ஆசையா இருக்கா? Right? This Mahabilam today is covered by a Kamakshi Ambal is sitting in a Garbhagraha, which is inside a mandapam called the Gayatri Mandapam. This is called Gayatri Mandapam because it has 24 pillars, each representing one akshara of the Gayatri Mandapam. So Ambaludiya Garbhagraham Gayatri Mandapathukkulla irukku. This Gayatri Mandapam is covering the Mahabilam. So the Mahabilam supports the Gayatri Mandapam, and when we go to Kanchipuram, when we see Kamakshi Amman, she is actually on the entrance of the Mahabilam. So I'm going to ask all of us, I'm going to give one more Nama of Ambal. It's one of my favorite Namas, Paratpara, which means she's not just supreme, she's the supremest of the supremest of the supreme, the highest form of supreme that we can ever imagine. So just take a few seconds to close our eyes and imagine Ambal in the Padmasana, inside the Gayatri Mandapa, on the Mahabilam, sitting as Paratpara, just for a few seconds. Before I go on to my next story, I'm going to bring up one more Nama of Ambal from the Lalita Sahasranama. இது பண்ணிட்டே இருக்காங்க, ஒரு பேரை நம்ம அப்பப்போ டிஸ்கஸ் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்கோம். It's called Kama Pujita. ஏன் நான் இந்த நாமத்தை பற்றி பேச போறேன்னா, it is going to be relevant for the next story. இதில் Kama Pujita means one who to Kamaraja or Manmatha did puja. So I'm just going to ரொம்ப சுருக்கமா இந்த கதையை சொல்லிட்டு போறோம். At one point of time, Manmada gets burnt by Shiva's third eye and he becomes an Anangan, which means he loses his body. Adinala he comes to Kanchipuram and does tapas ஒரு வருஷத்துக்கு ரெண்டு வருஷத்துக்கு இல்ல, for 1000 years before Ambal appears before him and grants him wishes. And அவர் ஒரு பூன்லாம் கேட்கல, நிறைய கேட்டார். அதுல only thing we need to know is, as a part of one of the boons, she absorbs or dissolves into herself all the physical or the bhoga forms of Shakti in Bhuloka. So Kamakshi Amman absorbs into herself, as one of the boons of Manmada, all the bhoga Shakti or the physical forms of Devi into herself. This is all I need you to remember. After that, what happens is there is a huge battle that happens between Manmata and Rudra, in which Rudra actually loses, which is why Kanchipuram is called Rudrajit Kshetra, because Manmata Rudranai win பண்ணதுனால Rudrajit Kshetra. But நம்ம அந்த கதைக்குள்ள இப்ப போக போறதில்ல. All we need to remember is all the bhoga forms of Devi is now dissolved into Kamakshi. Now for our second story. திருப்பியும் we are going to go back to our Brahma. So பிரம்மாக்கு ஒரு நாள் பிரம்மலோகத்தில் உட்கார்ந்துருக்கும் போது, இந்த பூலோகத்தில் இருக்கிற எல்லா சிவக்ஷேத்திரத்தையும் பார்க்கணும், கைலாசம் கூட அப்படின்னு ஆசை வந்ததா. So he comes down and he wants to go to Kailasha and all the Shiva Kshetras, and he notices something strange. In Kailasha, in any of the Shiva Kshetras, he can't see